Hello, I'm Will. I'm here with Mike with the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're bringing you issue 40 of Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine today. This issue comes with a Knight-Azyros model for the Stormcast Eternals. As usual, you can use the timecode in the description or the chapters in the time bar to skip ahead to the battle report if you want to. There'll also be a timecode for a look at the whole collection that we've got over the first 40 issues of this magazine. But we'll have a look inside this issue. First up, we have the lore for the Knight-Azyros. Like the prosecutors, flies on wings made of celestial light. He also carries a lantern which contains within it the light of Azyr, which blinds Sigmar's foes, and their mission is to bring the light of Sigmar to all corners of the realms. And over the page it talks about how they are often used as his messengers. Then we have the Knight Venator, which is actually an alternate build for the Knight-Azyros kit, which the magazine doesn't give you instructions for. But these are armed with bows, and they are consummate marksmen. They have magical arrows that replenish in their quivers. And here we have a picture of one and with a description of his equipment, and they are often accompanied by star eagles, which are predatory birds from Azyr. Then we have a bit about the Emerald Host. This is an army of warriors gifted to Lady Ollander, the Mortarch of the Nighthaunt, which are formed from the souls of those people in her home city who once plotted against her in life. They're summoned by Lady Ollander to hunt down any foe, and they will never give up until they are destroyed. And over the page we have a little bit about Lady Ollander herself. And Gareth Malcor, the Knight of Shrouds, who leads the Emerald Host, who was once one of those who plotted against Lady Ollander. And a picture of some Hex Wraiths with ghostly cavalry, which form the Emerald Host. Then we have the build instructions for the Knight-Azyros. It comes in several components, and you have to be a little bit careful not to bend any of it as you're putting the wings together and whatnot.
Yeah, some of the prongs on the wings are actually attached to the sprue, and it'd be quite easy to bend or snap them, so you do need to be careful taking them off.
And it does tell you to glue the wings on here, but it might actually be easier if you keep them separate until they've been painted, just to be able to paint in the little crevices of the back. It also mentions the extra components you get for the Knight Venator, which are not used. Then we have the painting guide for the Knight-Azyros, and he's basically just a large prosecutor, pretty much following the same process for them. So we've got the gold and the wash and dry brush, and then painting the wings white, and the parchment with Rakar's flesh, black and silver, and then an oil wash, and then painting the base. And there is the finished model, looking pretty good. So now we're going to have a look at the entire collection that we've got with the Mortal Realms magazine so far, and then after that we will be getting on to our game. And so first of all, here we have all of the miniatures and terrain laid out on the two large battle mats. And it's worth pointing out that this is just the standard collection. There are none of the subscriber gifts or any of the premium sets shown here. Having a look at the Stormcast Eternals models first, there are 42 models in total. Starting in the front row, on the right-hand side, we have a Lord Arcanum on a Griff Charger, a Knight-Azyros, which we got with this issue, Zandria Asgibolt, the Knight in Cantor miniature exclusive to Mortal Realms magazine. Then we have Ava on Stormsire of Stormsire's Cursebreakers, a Lord Exorcist, and finally a Knight Questor. And then immediately behind Stormsire are the two Cursebreakers themselves. To the right of them, a regular Evocator Prime. Continuing to move to the right, we have 9 Sequitors in total, 3 easy-to-build Sequitors in the front row, and then 2 sets of Sequitors from the Soul Wars box set sprues. Then in the middle, we have 7 Castigators. There are 3 easy-to-build Castigators in the front, together with an easy-to-build Griffhound, and then 4 Castigators again from the Soul Wars sprues behind. Over on the left-hand side of the picture, 8 Liberators, and these are from the original Age of Sigmar First Edition starter set, or now available in the Thunderstrike Brotherhood box set. And then finally, in the back row, an easy-to-build Celestar Ballista on the left, 3 Griffhounds in the middle, and 2 Prosecutors, also from the Thunderstrike Brotherhood kit. Then moving over to the Nighthaunt collection, we have 58 models, again starting at the front. We have a Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed, and behind him 2 easy-to-build Dreadblade Harrows. Continuing left to right, we have a Lord Exorcist, a Guardian of Souls, a Spirit Torment, and then Crawlock the Jailer in the front, behind him 2 Chainghasts, this from the Crawlock the Jailer box. At the front on the right, a Cairn Wraith and a Tomb Banshee, and behind them the Briar Queen, and behind her the Thorns of the Briar Queen, altogether making up that set of miniatures. Behind the Thorns of the Briar Queen, we have 10 easy-to-build Chain Rasps. Then on the left-hand side, we have 9 Glaive Wraith Stalkers. The 4 on the left are the easy-to-build Glaive Wraith Stalkers, and the 5 of them to their right, again from the Soul Wars box set sprues. To the right of the Glaive Wraith Stalkers, 4 easy-to-build Miremorn Banshees. Behind them, we have 4 Grimghast Reapers, also from the Soul Wars set. And then to the left of them, 10 Dreadscythe Harridans. And finally, at the back, 3 Spirit Hosts. Now we'll have a look at the terrain provided. First up, on the Realm of Death board, we have the terrain provided in the first 20 issues, which is a complete Sigmarite mausoleum set. So there are 3 mausoleum buildings, a statue, and a set of walls and fences. And then on the Realm of Life board, the terrain from that board, 2 pieces of Azerite ruins, an Azerite bell tower, a statue of Sigmar, and a selection of small scatter pieces, including 2 braziers, a wall, and a well. And finally, the selection of other things we got with the collection. In the centre towards the back of the picture is the small tomb board, which we used for the first few issues games. On that is the plastic 12-inch range ruler that we were given, and 12 dice. The 2 large boards that all this is displayed on, of course, and also a 3rd large board with issue 38, which we'll see in the upcoming issues. And finally, not pictured are the other items. We had a starter brush and a medium dry brush, a texture tool, 18 pots of paint, and a set of Citadel skulls, some of which are actually on the bases of some of these miniatures. So that's been our look at the whole collection so far, so then we'll get straight on to our battle plan.
So before we can get into our game for this issue, first up we have a little tutorial on how to allocate wounds. Probably should be used to this by now, but it sort of goes over it officially, where it talks about how you add up all the damage a unit takes, and then each point of damage it turns into a wound, and then you take away models that no longer have any wounds. So you can see this unit of chain rasps has taken 3 wounds, so 3 models are being taken away, and it does say you should try to remove them so the rest of your models are all within an inch of each other and they don't end up as 2 separate groups, otherwise you end up having to remove even more models in the Battletop phase. And on the next page it shows how to deal with multi-wound models. Basically only one member of a unit can be wounded at a time, so in this example this Liberator is wounded, takes 2 damage, so he takes 1 damage and then 1 goes to the next guy, and then the 4th wound this unit takes is applied to a new one. And also says you should keep track of casualties at round when you do Battletop tests. And then we have the War Scroll for the Knight-Azyros we got in this issue. So he looks fairly similar to a Prosecutor with a 12-inch move. He has a 3+ save and 5 wounds and Bravery 9. He has 4 attacks with his Star Blade. They hit on 3s and wound on 3s. March on Rend, which will be relevant, 1 damage each. And he has 2 abilities. One is the Illuminator of the Lost, so in a 10-inch aura around him, any friendly units that target enemy units within that 10-inch aura can reroll 1s to hit. And then once per battle in the hero phase, he can unleash the Light of Sigmar, and any enemy units within 18 inches of him when that happens take D3 mortal wounds, and if there were Chaos units they would take D6, but no Chaos units in the Nighthaunt army. And then it shows some examples here. As you can see in this example, these Glaive Wraiths are within 10 inches of the Knight-Azyros, so these Castigators get to reroll 1s to hit. And then here the Light of Sigmar is damaging all of these Nighthaunt units around him. And now we can get on to the actual battle plan. First up, there's a little bit of fiction. Basically, this is the combined Stormcast and Sylvaneth assault on Summersong. So Boreas Glory Mantle is leading his forces into the city after Zandra Ajavolt tried to infiltrate the temple in the previous issue. So the battle plan, a matter of life and death. We actually have 2 battle mats for this issue, and we actually deploy along the long edges rather than the short edges as we usually do. And for the forces, we have the Knight of Shrouds, a Dreadblade Harrow, a Spirit Torment, 2 Chainghast, 4 Mindworn Banshees, 4 Glaive Wraith Stalkers, 4 Grimghast Reapers, and 15 Chainrasps for the Nighthaunt. Facing off against the Lord Arcanum, the Knight-Azyros, 2 units of 4 Liberators, 2 Prosecutors, 3 Castigators, and 4 Gryph-hounds. And for setting up, we set up the terrain like we did in the previous issue, deploy 1 unit at a time, beginning with a Stormcast player. And then the player who placed the first terrain piece gets to go first, so we'll roll off camera and sort that out. And then the game lasts for 5 battle rounds, or until 1 player has been wiped out. When the battle ends, we total up all the wounds characteristic of all the slain models, and the player with the highest result wins. So we'll come back after we've set up the battlefield and finished deploying. So we have our terrain set up and our armies deployed. Let's do a quick look at the terrain. We have one of the Azerite ruins over here on the left, and the Sigmar statue over near the Stormcast deployment zone, a little wall in the centre of the battlefield. The other Azerite ruin down here near the Nighthaunt deployment zone, and then the Azerite bell tower off to the right. I'll go with my deployment first. I have the Glaive Wraith Stalkers over on my left flank, the Spirit Torment and the Knight of Shrouds behind the big unit of Chain Rasps, then the Mindworn Banshees with the Chainghast behind them, and the Dreadblade Harrow, and over on my right flank the Grimghast Reapers. Looking at the Stormcast deployment.
Starting on this side, we've got 4 Liberators and the 3 Castigators. The Lord Arcanum in the middle, who will be my general.
My general will be the Knight of Shrouds.
Then the Knight-Azyros next to the Prosecutors, behind the Prosecutors the other unit 4 Liberators, and finally out on the flank 4 Gryph-hounds, and as usual the one with the moulded base will be the Alpha.
And we rolled off, and Will won the roll off to place terrain, so he gets to go first, so we'll head into the first battle round and Stormcast turn 1.
So in my hero phase I gain a command point and we'll try and cast Mystic Shield with the Lord Arcanum because there's nothing else to do. Getting a 6, getting a 7, and the Banshee's not in range to unbind. And we'll put that on the Prosecutors. And then in the movement phase we've moved up, nobody had to run, so we'll start this end, these Liberators moved up and the Castigators as well. The Castigators are in range of the Chain Rasps. Prosecutors moved up a bit further so they can get in range to throw hammers at the Chain Ghasts, and the Knight-Azyros for the moment is going to stay behind them. The Lord Arcanum has moved over to that side to be next to them, and then we've got 4 Liberators behind them, and the Gryph-hounds on the flank still. And that will be on to the shooting phase. We'll start off with the Castigators, shooting at the Chain Rasps as always. They will always do power to accuracy, so rerolling 1s to hit. The prime hits on 2, the other 2 hits on 3s. 6s are D3 hits, so we've got 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, so get in the box. We've got 2 wounds.
5+ save for Chain Rasps. Oh, made 1 failed one, so 1 did. Yeah, just take away this one.
Then the Prosecutors will throw hammers at the Chain Ghasts because they are quite dangerous. 4 shots hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. 2 1s to reroll. 3 hits overall, and wounding on 4s as well, I think. Yeah, 2.
4+ saves for Chain Ghasts. Fell both, so that's actually 1 dead. We'll lose that Chain Ghast.
But that's going to be it for my turn. No charging to be done.
So we'll be on to Nighthaunt turn 1. So in my hero phase I gained a command point, and then in my movement phase the Glaive Stalkers have moved up to start heading around this ruin. In the middle the Chain Rasp has moved up, and the Spirit Tormentor has a run to keep up. He sort of moved across to keep up behind them. So he's now within 6 inches of this Chain Ghast, so hopefully I can get some of them back. The Mimon Banshees have formed up behind the Chain Ghast, hopefully make the Prosecutors less likely to charge him, and the Knight of Shrouds is behind them. And over on my right flank the Grimghast Reapers moved up and are being backed up by the Dreadblade Harrow. And then just beyond to the shooting phase, where the Chain Ghast he'll shoot at the Prosecutors, even though they've got Mystic Shield. So we have D3 shots from the Chain Ghast for 1. Hits on a 4 rerolling 1s because of the Spirit Torment. He hits. Wounds on 3. He does. Range -2, so 6+.
Yep, but rerolling 1s because they do have Mystic Shield on them.
Well, that's a 6.
Yeah, there's a bit of fluff there, but that was...
Yeah, it's definitely a 6.
Yeah.
Never mind. Well, that'll be it for my turn. I'm not going to declare any charges just yet. That'll be the end of the battle round, so we'll be rolling off. Rolling off battle round 2. I got a 3.
I got a 4. So I will be going first in this battle round.
So we'll head into Stormcast turn 2.
So up to 2 command points, and then we'll go for an Arcane Bolt from the Lord Arcanum, needing a 5. Getting a 4, so no Arcane Bolt. And then in my movement phase, we're actually just mostly going to shuffle back a bit, keeping the Castigators and the Prosecutors in range of stuff, but otherwise there's no huge hurry to engage. The way the Nighthaunt are arrayed, I don't really want to charge them right now. Apart from these Gryph-hounds, who will go forward and head over there. On to the shooting phase, we'll start with the Castigators. They're going to shoot at the Chain Ghast. 3 shots again, rerolling 1s. Reroll 1. Oh, it's into a 6, which is D3 hits for 3, so 5 hits total. Moving on 3s, getting 3.
4+ saves. Well, failed all of them. No Chain Ghast left.
So that leaves the Prosecutors free to shoot at anything, so they'll shoot at the Chain Rasps. 4 shots hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. Only got 1 hit so far, reroll 1, 2 hits. Wounding on 4s, 1.
5+ save. Failed. Yeah, take away this one.
So that just leaves the charge phase, where the Gryph-hounds will charge over here.
Yep.
Oh, 3. Well, that is the bare minimum, that is enough. And they will come in like this into the Grimghast Reapers, and then they will get their attacks. So we've got 9 attacks, which hit on 3s, including the extra one for the Prime. So the Alpha, rather. That's a lot of misses, that's only 3 hits. And wounding on 4s. Getting 2.
4+ saves for Grimghasts. Well, I can't make them either. I'm going to take away these 2.
And then they get to make their 6-inch retreat move after they've attacked, so they'll go to there. But that will be the end of my turn.
Yeah, so be on to Nighthaunt turn 2. So in my hero phase I gain a command point, and then I'll do all my movements over on the right. Grimghast Reapers have gone around to the base of the tower. The Dreadblade is going to move so he's 3 inches away from the Gryph-hounds. The Knight of Shrouds has come over the ruin. Mimon Banshees have moved up their 8 inches in the middle. The Chain Rasps and the Spirit Torment have moved up in the middle. And all the way over on the left, the Glaive Stalkers ran, and they rolled a 6, so they moved up 12 inches. And I don't have any Chain Ghast left, so there's no shooting, so it'll be straight to the charge phase. So the chain rasps are going to charge first. They're going to need an 8 to reach the castigators or the Lord Arcanum. They get a 4, so I will spend a command point to reroll that. Into a 5, so no charge for them. So in that case, the Knight of Shrouds is going to charge the Gryph-hounds, needing anything but a 3. Well, he gets an 8. That'll be it for charges actually, so straight to the combat phase where the Knight of Shrouds gets to go first. So the Knight of Shrouds has 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s because of the Spirit Torment. I'm not going to use Lord of Geist on himself. We'll reroll that 1. Into a hit, so that's 4 hits. Wounding on 3s, getting 3, so that'll be 6 damage in total. So then he's got his horse, has 2 attacks hitting on 4s, they both miss.
So we lose 2 whole Gryph-hounds, which is these 2 here. Then they get to pile in an attack, so this one will pile in round his base this way, and that one will just come over here. 5 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 4, and winning on 4s, getting 3.
4 plus save for the Knight of Shrouds, making 1, so he's down to 4 wounds.
I forgot about the Lord Arcanum's Cycle of the Storm ability, which lets him keep friendly Stormcast models alive. The Gryph-hounds are Stormcast models, so Michael's kindly letting me keep one alive on 1 wound, so I do get an extra 2 attacks because he was able to pile in an attack. So another 2 attacks on 3s. Oh, double 2, so there you go, it fixed itself. So yeah, this one here is back on a wound, and then they make their 6-inch retreat move away over here.
And then they have to make a Battletop test.
They do. So I will roll it because I'll lose 1 on a 6. No, I don't.
That'll be it for Battle Round 2. We'll be rolling off Battle Round 3. Rolling off, I got a 5.
I also got a 5.
Yeah, so you get to pick.
I do, because I went last time, so I will go first. So getting a command point, we'll start off with an Arcane Bolt. 5. And we're getting a 10 this time.
So that's the big one.
Potentially.
Try and combine that with the Mindborn Banshee, needing an 11, getting a 3.
And we'll put that on the Knight of Shrouds.
D6 damage.
3.
Oh, he's down to 1.
And then for movement, starting over here, these prosecutors have flown all the way over in front of the statue of Sigmar, and the liberators have moved up. The castigators that were in front of them have moved back a bit. Lord Arcanum has moved up there so he can charge in and hopefully use his spirit flasks. The Knight-Azyros is behind him at the moment because he has his aura of let people reroll 1s to hit. Liberators have moved up behind him, and the remaining Gryph-hounds have come round here around the bell tower to hopefully deal with those remaining Reapers. On to the shooting phase, we'll start with the castigators. They're going to shoot at the Mindborn Banshees. So we've got 3 shots on 3s or 2s, rerolling 1s. We've got a double 6, so 1 plus 4 hits, so 5. 3s to wound, 5.
Reroll those. 4 plus save. Right, me 4. We'll lose this Banshee.
And prosecutors will throw hammers at the Glaive Wraith Stalkers. Hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s with 4 shots. Reroll that 1. Still only managed 2 hits. Even the reroll, winning on 4s, 1.
4 plus save for Glaive Wraiths, made it.
On to the charge phase, we'll start with the Lord Arcanum because his position is the most important. Yeah, he's in with a 10. The Knight-Azyros will go now because he needs to get himself outside of 3 inches away. He rolls a 7, that should be enough. So he'll finish here, outside of 3 inches. The Knight of Shrouds isn't probably going to be there in a minute, but it doesn't really matter. We'll do these Liberators next. 6 might not be enough. They'll finish like this, getting this guy within half an inch of the Knight of Shrouds. Staying on this end, we'll do the Gryph-hounds. 5, probably good. That's enough to bring them into the Grimglass Reaper. Next we've got the other unit of Liberators. Yep, 7. So the Liberators finish there, charging into the Chain Rasps, and last of all we have the Prosecutors. We roll 3d6 for their charge, getting a large number, 13. And then we'll attack the Glaive Wraiths like that. And at the start of the combat phase, the Lord Arcanum can shatter all 3 of his spirit flasks, so he does 3 mortal wounds to himself and to everything else within 3 inches of himself, which is...
all the Banshees, the Knight of Shrouds, the Spirit Torment goes down to 2.
But the Chain Rasps take 3d3 because there are more than 10 of them. So rolling that... Oh, not too high, that's only 4.
I'll just take the 4 closest to the Lord Arcanum.
Who is down to 4 wounds. And I'll pick the Lord Arcanum first to fight the combat phase because I want him to attack the Spirit Torment before he gets hit back. So he will just slide in like that. He has 4 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 3. Yeah, could have been rerolling 1s, didn't roll any. 3s to wound, 3.
4 plus saves. There you go, and he made 1, so he's dead, regardless of how much damage it does. Spirit Torment goes down. I guess I'll pick the Chain Rasps. So they'll pile in a bit so they can all get within range because the 25mm base is just under an inch, so they can still fight in 2 ranks. 19 attacks hitting on 4s, getting 7 hits, and wounding on 4s, while getting 6 wounds.
So we've got 4 plus saves, rerolling 1s. Ooh, reroll 1. That's 4 wounds going through. We'll kill off this Liberator, and then one of them would die, but we'll use the Cycle of the Storm to keep one alive on wound. We'll pick the Gryph-hounds next, because if I don't, then the Grimglass Reapers will actually hit them. So this one will pile in around the corner. Allows the other 2 to get in. 7 attacks, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, because the Grimglass Reapers are within 10 inches of the Knight-Azyros. We've got 1/1 to reroll. Only 4 hits, even with that. Wounding on 4s. 2.
4+ saves. Made 1, failed 1. So the regular Grimghast will die.
And then making our 6-inch retreat move to get back to there.
So I'll come over here and pick the Glaive Race. They're fine where they are. You've got 8 attacks from the Glaive Race, re-rolling everything because we were charged. All those. So we got 6 hits in total. Wounding on 3s. 5.
And we've got 4+ saves, which I've made 4, so 1 wound. So 1 wound on a Prosecutor. I'll pick these Liberators because they are within 3 inches of the Dreadblade Harrow. The Knight-Azyros isn't, actually, but only 2 of them can pile into attack. 4 attacks, hitting on 3s because he does have 5 more wounds and rerolling 1s for the Knight-Azyros. No 1s, but 3 hits. And wounding on 3s, 2.
4+ save for the Dreadblade. Made 1, failed 1. It's down to 4. I'll pick the Dreadblade to go. He has 4 attacks because he didn't charge this turn. Hitting on 3s, getting 2. And wounding on 3s, getting 1. Miles 1 rend.
So 5+ save for rolling 1s. 5.
Sorry, the horse gets 2 attacks, hitting on 4s that both hit, and wound on 5s, and don't get anything.
I've got 2 units to go. I'll just do the Liberators because it doesn't matter anymore. 6 attacks on the Chain Rasp, hitting on 4s. Getting 2. And then wounding on 3s, getting 1.
5+ save. Nope. I'll take away this one. Finally, the Prosecutors.
4 attacks on 3s in melee, hitting on rerolling 1s. So 4 hits. And wounding on 3s as well. 3.
4+ saves. Made 1. 2 dead Glaive Wraiths. It doesn't actually matter, I'm going to take away the drummer. Cool. Yeah, that's it. It'll be a Battle Rock test for these Chain Rasps, who took 5 casualties. So Battle Rock test for the Nighthaunt. Roll a 1, so they're fine. And that'll be the end of Stormcast turn 3, and I'm just going to concede at this point because I've killed 2 models and half my army's dead. I don't think it's going to get much better from there. So that'll be a Stormcast victory, and we'll recap that for you now. So that was the game for issue 40 of Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine. How did you think that went?
Well, obviously it went pretty well. It went to plan, basically, which was to sort of move up and shoot you a bit and then continue to draw back until it got to the point where I was able to charge you and blow up the Lord Arcanum, and potentially using the Knight-Azyros' Lantern Explosion as well, which you didn't have to use in the end. But it could have gone completely differently if you had won the roll-off in the 3rd battle round, and you would have been able to charge me instead, stop me blowing up Lord Arcanum, potentially, or at least I would have damaged my own units. And
I would have killed more models, but I still think you would have won out in the end. It's still pretty easy for you to just condense yourself into a ball. I mean, you could just send the Lord Arcanum off on his own and the Gryph-hounds to harass me, and the Lord Arcanum can blow himself up. Your ranged units can pelt me from afar, and then if I get close enough, you can use the laser beam from the Knight-Azyros to do a ton of damage as well. The longer I spend advancing, the more time you have to shoot at me, and then the more damage I have to do when I get there with fewer models.
I can afford to basically play the waiting game. And I made sure I disposed of your Chain Ghast early on because they were the only ranged threat because you didn't have a wizard in this game.
Would have been handy to have one.
I guess as we've said several times, the Nighthaunt just don't really do well in a straight up slugging match. Well, certainly not with tiny units of 4 models and various other deficiencies.
If I were to choose, I'd probably swap the Dreadblade Harrow for the Guardian of Souls and the Glaive Wraiths and the Grimghast for, say, the Dreadscythe Harridans. That would have brought me up to 49 wounds to your 50, so it would have been 2 different.
Yeah, because it was 47 to 50 in my favour, wasn't it? I think it also goes to show potentially that although we have roughly the same number of wounds, that doesn't necessarily make for a balanced system, because I think in general Nighthaunt wounds are not worth the same as Stormcast wounds. I mean, you probably get more attacks per wound in a Nighthaunt force, because a Stormcast model has 2 wounds, only 2 attacks mostly. Yeah. But I feel like a wound's worth of Stormcast Eternals is probably more valuable. Although I suppose I did have 12 wounds of Gryph-hounds, which are not... They did well in this game, but they're not super effective. And
I never really got the chance to pin them down.
I did sort of take a risk charging them in my second turn, because they killed 2 Grimghast Reapers, but if you'd been able to attack them and pin them down, you could have actually basically exchanged 2 wounds for 12 wounds.
Yeah, because at one point we were technically tied, but then you just blew everything up. And I still don't really think there's anything I can actually do about you blowing up. I guess I could Chain Ghast him to death eventually, assuming he didn't manage to heal himself. I don't think there's any way to stop you. And he's got a really high move, so you can just quite easily charge and blow everything up. Although I suppose the alternative is to try and kill your stuff like the Liberators and the Castigators and the Gryph-hounds, because they're not terribly tough.
I I think if this had been an objective game, it would have been rather different because I know I had 5 battle rounds to do stuff, but I would have had to actually think about sending units to control objectives, especially if it had been a game maybe where you get progressive victory points or something for holding objectives overall, because that would force me to be a bit more proactive. Whereas as it was, I could just do what I did, which was keep everyone together, keep falling back, and then launch a counterattack. But that's just the way the scenario was written.
Right, it certainly fits the story. It'd probably be a bit weird if it would sort of scupper the narrative a bit if the Nighthaunt won, and then it's like, well, I guess we're just going to leave the realm of life now. Bye.
Presumably in the next issue we'll actually get to find out what happens in the story, whether, without giving away too many spoilers, they're moving to a different realm, and the magazine actually told us, hasn't it? We're moving to the realm of metal. Presumably it will give us the reasons why we've gone there next. I suppose the Knight-Azyros.
Oh, he's a really impressive model. It looks amazing. It doesn't look that amazing on paper.
He didn't actually get to fight anything, nor did he get to use his lantern. The reroll ones already did actually come in handy. It helped out the Griffhounds a little bit.
You'd think he'd go well with prosecutors, but they already reroll ones with their hammers. At least the ones in this collection do. Secretors can re-roll misses if you do powered weapons. Castigators can re-roll ones. Hopefully if you had a blister, and he's got the speed to keep up with Griffhounds, but and I guess you keep him around to help Liberators. It's just not that amazing.
Well, the strange thing about his aura is he has to be within 10 inches to use it, which you'd think he would do well as a support for a fast-moving attack force, but actually kind of he isn't. He's certainly not much use for a shooting force, because I don't really want to send him forward to let shooting units re-roll hits against things, because then he's out by himself. So he's almost better for a defensive kind of shield wall play style, because you can sit him in the middle and then anyone who comes near the shield wall will be near him. And then of course he has his lantern to do mortal wounds for stuff that's near him. So he's better actually sitting in the middle of your force at the back. And he's not really that impressive in melee. He's got the same number of attacks and stats as the Knight Questor, but he doesn't get the extra damage on 6.
He doesn't re-roll hit against characters either.
I suppose his speed means he can go and pick something off, but
It'd still take him a while to kill a wizard.
Yeah.
And compared to the alternate where you can build the Knight Venator, who has a once per game where you can do a d6 plus 3 damage to a hero if he hits it.
I think I'd rather sacrifice the re-rolling one's aura and the potential to do mortal wounds for, I think he has 6 shots with a 30-inch range.
Yeah, well, he has 3 shots with his bow and then 3 attacks with his bird. They have a huge range.
And he's not as good in melee, but I think he more than compensates for that with his shooting prowess. So, but anyway, that's the one the magazine tells you to build, so that's what we've got.
And also, I'll say about the model is that he's a nightmare to actually transport. I'm not actually sure how you're meant to take this model anywhere, except the only convenient way I'd think is to buy like a plastic top and put magnetic strip at the bottom and magnetize him to that. I wouldn't put him in any kind of figure case with foam or other models. He's far too tall. All those prongs on his wings are going to get bent. I think one of them actually is, if you look close enough. And these only stuck to his base by that bendy strip like the prosecutors, which certainly looks cool, but I can see that getting bent or snapping. Finally getting to play over 2 boards, at least in this size of board, the higher speed of all the cavalry and the flyers will actually come into effect in later games. Although actually I think we're going back down to 1 board again for a little while, but still. Yeah,
I felt like there were some options. Again, if this had been an objective game, then there would have been some place for mobile units. I suppose it also means that things like the Lord Arcanum's Ride the Winds of Theric or the Dreadblade Harrow's, I think it's Phantasmal Discorporation or whatever it is, the teleport abilities, they become more useful on a big board because there's somewhere to go that you can't reach with your normal movement. It made it feel like there was potential for it to be a bit more free-flowing rather than just a sort of a big clash in the middle and then nobody really goes anywhere.
There's definitely flanks. Yeah. There's actually room to flank around. I mean, I sent the Glaive Wraith forces to actually flank, and there's actually space for them to do that. And in theory as well, if there's multiple objectives to fight over, there'll be sort of multiple battle fronts.
It makes you think about where you place your units, and it meant your Chainghast actually had a role as well, because they could extend the Spirit Torment's aura as they're supposed to do.
Well, I'd say that playing on the same board with the same terrain and the same layout all the time did get kind of dull after a while.
Yes.
And I will say that there was a lot of battle plans that seemed to be on the vein of, we're going to Summersong and there are some ghosts in the way.
Yes.
There were at least 3 that were like that, and it wasn't until the end that it felt like anything was really changing, which Conquest magazine did a much better job about the battle over whatever the capital city was called, Ellen Corvon 2, where there's much more variety, at least in deployment and little side missions, whereas unfortunately there wasn't anything like that in this.
Yeah, we did get objectives in this, but even then the games didn't progress to be on more than whoever's holding the most objectives wins. Maybe a victory point for killing the enemy general or something. Yeah, definitely. With Conquest we had a lot more variety in games.
I think this is more about consolidating the rules you learnt from issues 1 to 20, or not expanding too much, introducing too many new things too quickly, which I think it did do a fairly good job of.
Yeah, I think for the most part it's been successful.
And I do like that command abilities are introduced much earlier than they were, or stratagems were in Warhammer 40k.
Yeah.
I guess because they're a big part, they're unique to each hero or certain heroes of them. So I guess we'll talk a little bit about the collection up to this point, since this is issue 40.
And we had a look at everything earlier.
Looking at, the Nighthaunt stuff we got another Spirit Torment, but with the Chain Ghast, which will definitely come in useful now. Useful to have a ranged unit and to extend the aura. The Lord Executioner we talked about before. Impressive looking model, but I don't think he's that amazing. We're actually going to get another one fairly soon as well. And the Cairn Wraith, again, fairly similar to the Lord Executioner really. We didn't really see much of him when we had him. The Spirit Hosts, I think, are one of the better units, definitely. And there is another 5 Harridans, which we found our unit to 10. And the Harridans have been very good when I've had them. One of my more dangerous units.
As we said when we got him, it does feel a little bit strange to have 2 Spirit Torments now, but it is handy to have the Chain Ghasts that come with him, obviously. Certainly compared to Conquest, the range for the Age of Sigmar factions, at least for the Nighthaunt, tends to be smaller than the stuff you get for a 40k faction, so we are basically getting almost everything the Nighthaunt have, so I suppose that's the reason.
And what do we get for the Stormcast? The Lord Exorcist, another useful spellcaster, kind of like a Knight Incantor. I think we got Stormsire's Curse Breakers as well.
Who are quite good, both themselves and Stormsire, but Stormsire we've only seen once.
Yeah, it was quite a long time ago we saw him. And the Knight-Azyros we talked about. I think another Prosecutor and some more Liberators as well, just to...
We're always continuing filling out those units.
Yeah, we'll completed them fairly soon as well. There'll be a lot of Stormcast reinforcements coming in a few issues.
Yeah.
So do you think it's more about consolidating what you've learnt?
Yeah, not introducing lots of new complicated units. It's mostly been updating and completing the rules for units we already had.
Yeah.
And giving them their full rules so you can learn how to use the new things for the models that we already know something about.
Yeah, I think we do actually know basically the full rules for all the models in the collection by now, I think.
Yeah, I think overall both collections are still probably quite manageable for a beginner.
Well, I'd definitely say the Stormcaster is still a good choice for a beginner. Stuff like the Prosecutor and the Knight-Azyros are not really difficult to paint. They just take a lot of time and are probably quite easy to break. And the Nighthaunt, some of them are really quite fragile. It's quite easy to break them, but...
They're quite easy to paint for a beginner, particularly if you follow the magazine instructions. It's actually very straightforward.
I mean, you could probably just paint them all with Nihilog Oxide and they look fine. Yeah, and I do like the terrain. Painting it white does make it contrast nicely with the grey stone of the graveyard.
And it came into effect in the games a little bit more than on the first board, where the tombs and everything were not really involved in the game.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's too much more to say about this issue or the collection so far, so if you like this content, please leave a like and subscribe, and leave any comments or how you think the collection's been shaping up. If you played this game, how did it go for you? We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.